let everyone know who's in the room. Just take a moment to introduce yourself, share a little bit about what you do, and yeah, just introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do.
Well, my name is author Lucretia Cargill. I am a native of Selma, Alabama. I moved up here about a year ago in Montgomery, to where I am an 8x 7 published author, where I self-publish inspirational guides and spiritual guides to just to encourage and empower others on a daily basis. I am the founder of a women's empowerment group that I do have, that I created a platform on Facebook for a lot of women, where I have over 2,000 women in the group. And every day, you know, it's all about seeing each other grow, to be able to encourage and inspire and empower women on a daily basis, because you don't know what somebody is going through on a daily basis. Maybe one kind word, or maybe just a "I love you" can spark somebody's day. You know, it can change their whole day. So it's all about making an impact in this world. And that's what I am using my talents and my skills to empower people. I just became a Woman Speak leader, which means I'm creating a circle here in Montgomery to help women find their inner voices. Because a lot of times, a lot of women don't know what they have inside of them. They don't know that they have power inside of them. So it's always being able to use your skills and talents to help somebody else. So that's my mission, is to help others bring about their skills and talents to help other people.
That's really dope. My name is Jeremy Kelly. I'm the founding president and qualifying broker of Kelly Realty. We specialize in residential real estate, commercial real estate. We also help our clients grow their portfolio and manage their rental portfolios. But our main crusade is my main crusade, I feel like, is to teach our community the importance of acquiring wealth and building wealth through acquiring real estate. So that's, you know, one of the main things that we do. And yeah.
Good evening, my name is Aretha Dix. I'm retired Air Force, 20-year service member, retired healthcare administrator. I am also a co-author of the latest edition, Volume 5 of 20 Beautiful Women. What 20 Beautiful Women is, it is a set of stories to empower and inspire, not just women, but everybody. Talking about just daily struggles and things that we have overcome. I'm also a professional resilience instructor, where I focus on building the total person from a mental, spiritual, physical, and social perspective. Organic gardener, I'm also an entrepreneur. I have my own line of organic skincare products. And so, like Jeremy, I just want to encourage and help the community grow. My main focus is health, wealth, and consciousness. That's it.
All right, and as you know, the theme on this evening is Black empowerment from the mind, body, and soul. And so one of the first things I did want to talk about was identity. And I wanted to start with you, Jeremy, just because I'm familiar with, you know, your story, and if you want to read more about his story, it's on page 16 of the latest issue. But he talks a little bit about some of the obstacles he's overcome, you know, as a youth. So I wanted to talk about identity, because I wanted to ask all of you, but starting with you, Jeremy, how did you decide who you were going to be? Because some of the obstacles you overcame could have took you in the opposite direction, you know, just being a high school dropout, and then just some of the things you encountered with your dad. So talk to us about, well, share what you've been through, and then also talk about how did you decide who you were going to be?
Yeah, just quick synopsis. I'm a high school dropout. My father went to prison when I was 15 years old, so I've been on my own since I was 15. Just a ton of other things I can go into, but that's what's really pertinent. And as far as identity, it's difficult, you know, being a black man and being a man in general. We're taught to be tough and not truthful. You know, we're really taught to put on this tough guise, this exterior to act like nothing affects us, like we don't care about anything that has happened to us, and that like we just bulletproof. And, you know, I found out early on that that just wasn't the case, you know, and it definitely wasn't the case in my life. Yeah, so to be honest with you, I really didn't find out who I was until I found out who my God was. You know, I went through a lot of changes as a teenager, obviously with my father being away. I didn't have that good parental, you know, guidance. My mom lived 250 miles away, so I didn't have that strong hand of help with me. And I actually ended up, you know, becoming a Christian when I got to college when I was like 19. And it was like an anchor for me. It gave me a baseline, and it really gave me, you know, the basis of my identity. And then I just kind of developed it from there. You know?
What about you ladies? You all have accomplished a lot. Like you know, you published 7 books and you, oh my gosh, everything. You're just a Renaissance woman. So like, how did you decide who you wanted to be or who you are?
Well, I always knew that, well, I didn't really know. I knew what type of woman I wanted to be growing up, but I didn't know how I was going to actually get there. Right now I have a book called A Woman Clothed in Strength, where one of the chapters is actually talking about identifying who you are in Christ, because a lot of us, we don't know who we are. And I went a long time not knowing who I was. And I really had to discover what my purpose was. And just like Jeremy said, you know, in order to find out who you really are, you really have to dig deep to know who our God is. Because that's how we really find out who we really are. So once I got to this point in my life, and I've been through the struggle, I've been through a lot of different things in my life, which helped me to get to where I am right now. I am a parent as well. I am a wife, and it's just so much that I had to deal with at a younger age, even going through the struggles with my family, friends, and a lot of different things. So once I really dig deeper into who I really was, I had to take a step back, because I was pushing myself to the edge. I was moving too fast in life to even understand who I was. And once I cleaned to God, He really showed me what my purpose was here on this earth, and to show that I do have strength and dignity in Him as a woman.
Do you have anything to add to it?
I guess my identity came once I got in the military. 20 years of a structured environment, always having to do what someone else said. I didn't always agree, but I knew I had to comply. They had laws in place for that. Being a mother, being a daughter, being a wife, sister, all those titles that we carry every day, it's hard. For me, I think my true identity came with illness. You know, Jasmine knows my story. For most who don't know my story, I guess in summary, the biggest culprit of my health issues was fibromyalgia, but it wasn't diagnosed for 7 years. So 7 years of not knowing truly what's wrong, will planning 3 times, you know, like really preparing for the next step for my family, illnesses that I faced, to include diabetes, hypertension, heart failure, kidney failure. I have a list, but being diagnosed with so many different illnesses, and none of your healthcare providers talk to you. They don't talk to you, they throw medications and things at you, they didn't talk to each other. And still I had, you know, Uncle Sam saying, okay, well, regardless of what's wrong, you belong to us. And the hardest part about being a healthcare administrator was the fact that I worked there. So I experienced disparities in healthcare, and even within the city of Montgomery. So the last 2 years of my career, I became a full-time patient. It was very hard. Contemplated suicide, contemplating just dropping everything. There were days I couldn't get out of bed. So it was just hard. And I'm like, you know, I felt like I was being punished. You know, I felt like God had turned His back on me. And I just didn't know until I just really had to truly just break down, realize what my purpose was, continue on with that. I had to write it, I had to speak it, I had to live it, I had to bring my family, my friends, my coworkers on board. And with that, I was able to see truly how strong I was, and I was really able to see my purpose here, not just, you know, on earth, but within the community. And that itself helped me, and it's still helping me to truly identify who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing, who I'm supposed to be doing it with, and how I'm supposed to be doing it.
And I know you all kind of touched on the next thing, which will be belief systems. So what were some of the advice or beliefs that you held on to help you push past some of the obstacles that you have faced in life?
Well, I look at it as faith. And the reason why I say faith is because a lot of times, you know, in life we go through a lot of different obstacles, a lot of different struggles, a lot of different trials, a lot of different tribulations in your life. And sometimes when your back is up against the wall, you don't know which way to turn. You don't know which way to go. Where are you going? Where are you going to look up to? So my faith, you know, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, which means if I was to continue to actually go about and look at the things that's going on with me in the natural, then I wouldn't have the faith to overcome those obstacles that I was actually facing in my life. So I'm a very strong believer, and my faith, I really have strong faith. So faith is what gets me through the day. It helps me every single day to get through the trials and the struggles that I face on a daily basis.
I think one of the main concepts that changed my life was when I understood that I was predestined, that everything that was happening to me, that every day of my life, that God had already wrote it out in a book, and that I was literally just walking out a path that was already laid before me. And I knew he didn't want my story to end the way it was going. You know, I knew that even in the dark times and the bad chapters, I knew that, you know, better days were coming, and I knew that he didn't put me here for me to die like this. You know, he didn't put me here for me to fail. He didn't put me here for nothing but success. And if I did experience failure, I knew it was because I needed to open my heart up and share it with the youth and help and inspire them. You know, so it gave my pain purpose when I understood that my path was created before I got here.
Like my co-host here, again, it was that relationship with God. I couldn't rely on friends. I couldn't rely on family. I couldn't rely on doctors, any of that. I was getting so much information, and then I was put in a position as a master resilience trainer for the military who couldn't really, let's see, like your spiritual beliefs, you had to really keep to yourself. And one of the things that I had to teach was that spiritual had nothing to do with God. That spiritual was not religious. And I didn't feel like I was fully qualified to expound on that. I went to Faulkner University for graduate and undergraduate school, but that wasn't enough for me to feel like I could sit here and teach on something that I really didn't have that experience with, in going through that loss and searching for those answers from God myself. So it took pain, it took a lot of long time, it took just that, okay, this is it. You know, is there anything else that you want me to know? Is there anything else you want me to see before I give up? And so it just took a lot of submission in that personal relationship with me and God.
And were there any people, maybe celebrities or anyone you looked up to that I guess gave you hope? Because I believe, you know, representation, I really believe that's very important for me. For example, I wouldn't have thought to be a writer for a magazine or even own a magazine if it was not for like Queen Latifah and Living Single with Flavor, you know. So I'm just curious to know, like, were there any people that you kind of saw yourself as or hoped to be, or just that inspired you into your careers? Were there anyone?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I never thought that I would actually be a writer as well. But my mom, she's actually a writer. She writes poetry. She writes spiritual, and I just helped her publish her book. So she kind of inspired me along the way. She gave me hope. Even when I was growing up as a teenager, I used to write love poetry, but I never pursued it because I just didn't never think anything of it. So as I became an adult and going through a lot of different things that I had in my life, I just said, okay, 12 o'clock one morning, I just got up and I just started writing. And what made me really do that, it was dealing with the relationship that I had been in, and I had to overcome it. And I understood that God allowed me to go through that bad breakup, that bad relationship, to get me where I needed to be to start my first book. And that was to start my writing journey. So once I finished my first book, it was like a never-ending story. And sometimes I sit back and I say, oh, I'm tired of writing, Lord, I'm tired of writing. But it's something just say, no, here's another idea. So it's a continuous thing for me, and it's like a journey that's never ending with the writing story. So my mom was a great inspiration to me as well.
As far as celebrities go, it's Tupac. Tupac Shakur, yeah, Tupac. Man, it was, of course I love his music, but it was less about his music and it was more about his life. This was another young brother who was hurdling everything that came at him, from having a mother that's on crack, he being a high school dropout, shot 5 times, betrayed by his friends, went to prison, all type of stuff. You can tell I'm a real fan. Anyway, but so all of this stuff is going on, and I just was watching him just hurdle it and just move about, you know, with grace and make his mistakes and be talented yet demented. See, he helped me understand that I wasn't crazy, because you don't have to be perfect to be talented. And sometimes, to whom much is given, much is required. So when you're talented, a lot is required out of you, and it's hard. That's a hard burden to carry sometimes. But I watched Tupac carry it. I watched him fall and get back up and fall and get back up, and it did something for me. It lit a fire in me, you know. And he died on my birthday when I was 6, so I really didn't even start really listening to his music and learning about his life until I was a teenager. But it gave me great inspiration.
For me, it was no real celebrity. Always a music fan, but it was my parents, praying parents. I would go to my parents just like, hey, I don't know what's going on. You know, I'm tired of being a doctor. Tired of going to the doctor, tired of coming home and going to bed. I'm tired, you know, not being able to sleep. I'm tired of all the medications. And it was my parents, their faith, their belief systems, their traditional values. When we talk later about more about their values and how I became an organic gardener and how I got off all those meds and how I'm continuing to go that way. But those are all things that my parents believed in, and that's how I was raised. So.
And I do want to talk more about our bodies and our mind, and you touched on our next area, which was something that you do. Like, you do have a home garden, and you did started this whole rainbow lifestyle that you incorporated your family in. So can you share a little bit about some of the things you do to take care of your body?
Sure. A lot of things that I do to take care of my body. I have 3 daughters, age 18, 14, and almost 9. And I have a husband, and so we're a lifestyle, military lifestyle, always on the go. When I was diagnosed, I think it was when I was diagnosed at the peak of my illnesses, I was prescribed, I was 37 and I was prescribed 41 different medications. And I couldn't take them. I couldn't remember what I had taken. I got diagnosed with dementia. I was just a mess. I was just sitting there, couldn't remember what I was supposed to take, when I was supposed to take it, what, you know, side effects to expect. And this is all while still having to get up and go to work from 7:30 until. So I called my mom and I said, I just can't do this anymore. She says, well, you need to stop. You need to clear your system. Just go, see if you can go a day or 2 without it to see what you really, really need and what, you know, go back, start over. In the meantime, I want you to replace your medication with food. And I'm like, okay. She says, you were really never sick growing up. And then even still, like today, my parents are 78 and they are still young. They're still super active. And my dad's an avid farmer. My grandparents, my uncles, they all had community gardens, and still, if you go back to my hometown in South Carolina, their community gardens. And so at first I'm like, well, this is a bit crazy, but how will I have time? You know, I'm too young to be a farmer per se, but I started looking into it, and I started looking into what foods were really good for my hypertension, what foods were really good for my vision, what foods were really good for my memory and so forth. And then I looked into it and I'm like, okay. And so doing that research, I was like, well, these things are inexpensive to grow, inexpensive to maintain. And so that's what I started doing. I started with a lot of herbs. I started with like oregano, basil, thyme, and just tomatoes, cucumbers, things that could really sustain on their own. And then I started realizing one day, and then just my baby was like, Mom, why are we always eating the rainbow? And I'm like, and then I looked down at my plate, I'm like, oh my goodness. And so that became a thing in our home. And then I started reading more, wasn't ready for a vegan lifestyle, wasn't ready for pescatarian, wasn't ready for all of those things, because traditionally I was taught that you have a meat in three and you eat everything that's on your plate. And I learned in trying to do that, I had irritable bowel. So I couldn't really eat everything. I couldn't really eat the way that I had, you know, eaten grown up. And that was, you know, we had hogs, we had chickens, we had all of that. And you ate all of that. You didn't have a choice. You know, you either ate it or you didn't eat. You know, and so, but I knew those things weren't good, you know, with some of the illness that I had, especially like with the hypertension, having postpartum cardiomyopathy, and that is where your heart, you go into heart failure. And I had that after the delivery of my last child. And so my body didn't bounce back in the 2 months or the 3 months that, you know, textbooks said. It took about 3 years, you know, to get back to some type of normal heart rhythm. At the time I was diagnosed with the heart function of a 88-year-old white male smoker. I don't know how they got that, but basically I had nothing. My lungs were filled with fluid. When I went to the doctor initially with all my problems, it was when I was rolling over at night, and I can just hear, like, it was like a tide. It was like, shh, and I can just hear, but I didn't know, you know. I just thought it was, you know, normal with the pregnancy, breast milk coming in. I went 3 days like that. And so when I got to the emergency room, my heart was like 97%, 98, 97% filled with fluid. Could barely, like, I didn't even have a really good pulse. So everybody was looking at me like, how are you here? And how long have you felt this way? And so after going through that and doing some research and doing more and more research, I started gardening more, because, you know, it's expensive to eat healthy, you know, and everybody had their definition of healthy. Everybody had their definition of what you should eat as a woman with a certain age group, and then what your children should have. And so we literally adopted the rainbow, and that's something that I teach, of eating the rainbow. And that's with each meal, trying to have as many colors of the rainbow on your plate. And that slowly kind of cut out a lot of the meat, but we still, you know, have meat. You know, it's an option, but it's my last option. So I've been doing this for probably, like I said, since probably about a good 3 years now, in maintaining, you know, what I eat, how I eat, and when I eat. I learned another thing that I had to learn is when I got enough. You know, eating to get satisfied and not necessarily eating to get full. And again, traditionally all my life, you know, you eat what's on your plate, you know.
And changing your diet, it helped you to improve your health. And
oh yeah, so that helped me to, you know, with that, just, you know, adopting that method, I was able to lose some weight. I was able to actually work out, get good forms of cardio. I did 2 years of physical therapy and occupational therapy, because I had some nerve damage, and with fibromyalgia, that is a, you know, issue with your nervous system. And so just the way I ate, you know, helped me build my strength, physically and mentally, because I had this roadblock that, you know, it's going to hurt, and, you know, not knowing how to, you know, push through my limits. And so that's when Mitchell, who wasn't able to make it, my business partner, I was going to Dothan in Enterprise 3 days a week for physical therapy and occupational therapy. And I met him at it was a hair and health expo that was here, and met him, and so he bought some products from me. And Troy would be my stopping point after, driving back and forth. And so we got to talking, she's telling my issues, and he became my physical trainer. And so with that, comparing, combining the food that I ate and the level of exercise and learning what exercise tolerance was, I'm a new person now. I don't have those 41 prescribed medications. I have 3. And I think that's very significant because now, I actually know what's going on with me, and I've actually learned that medication is not the answer. A lot of, what we go through, it is mental. It's just hard hearing it from someone else. And when I say mental, not crazy, not where people are telling you, oh, you're crazy for having that, or that's not possible, but I mean like mental in the sense of building your mental stamina, building your mental ability to say, okay, accept what I have going on, and now let me find a solution, and find as many solutions that I have. As many solutions that I can, and just learning to really help yourself,
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a lot, but
No, but yeah.
I'm sitting here looking like, okay, I got
Well, is there anything that any of you do to take care of your body that you saw improvements in maybe your mindset or your energy? Is there anything that, do you want to add to it?
No, I just know now I have to push myself a little harder, and just like you said, it is a mental thing. It's a mental state. So, should I exercise today? No, I'm going to lay down and go to sleep today. It's the mentality. So I know what I have to do, and I've been trying to, sometimes you just need that little motivation sometimes from somebody else that's on that path, that's doing that. But, I have to push myself every day. I said, okay, I'm going to get out, I'm going to go running today. I'm going to, exercise today. So, hey, I'll get there.
And I think like what she was saying is that knowing that there's someone else, not being afraid to tell your story versus not being afraid to share your story,
Right.
That positive energy, that positive motivation, those self-affirmations. If you're not a person that wants to work out with someone, meditation, yoga, there's just so much. There's really no excuse for not being building a better body. You have to be well-rounded, and that's mental, spiritual, physically, and socially. In order to be your best person. And then we always say, just think about it. You have bills and your money's not where it needs to be. You can't sleep. You can't focus. You can't do the things that you want to do. So it all starts here. You have to get your mind right, and then you have to find healthy ways to be social. You have to find healthy ways, and all that. To say that it's up to you. But it's also, we have to be a team in that as well. We can't shun people who have issues. And then sometimes it's really hard until you really know, until you really overcome. It's really hard to open up to people that you don't know. We've become great at being critical and judgmental. As a whole, as a people in general. No necessarily gender, attached to it, no race attached to it. It's like we all want to be perfect. I think in some way there has to be something that we want to do like no one else. And so I think it's just a matter of just those healthy relationships, starting with yourself, starting within your home, and then reach out into the community.
Right. And because you're partners with Mitch, you both are co-owners of the fitness studio, Physique by Susu, and I know y'all have a lot of things going on in there. So if you would like to connect with Aretha further on the health journey, then you can ask her about their fitness studio, where they do talk about the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
And more of their story is on page 20 of the most recent issue, where Mitch and they go deeper into the whole self-knowledge and creating yourself and correcting your flaws. Like, they go deeper into that on page 20 if you want to check out more of that story. Shifting gears, let's talk about the soul and how do we take care of ourselves, because as a culture I feel like we get hit hard, through the media and through stereotypes. So like, how do you, like, just taking in all of what we take in as a culture, how do we take care of ourselves? Like, what do we do as far as self-care goes, and what do we do to nurture our souls so that we're not taking on those, that negative energy that gets pushed onto our culture? Like, so what are some of the things that we could be doing to take care of ourselves on the soul level? What do you do?
What do I do? Well, what do? I open up the Bible. That's how I take care of my soul. I have to be spiritually fed every day. And I think that's very important, because a lot of people are spiritually malnourished. So that's what I actually do. I change my scenery as far as what I listen to, what I take in, what I watch on TV. Some of that stuff can be detrimental to your soul as well. So you have to be careful on the types of movies you watch, the types of music you listen to, and just basically your surroundings. So I try to stay around positive people. I try to continue to uplift people, to be positive myself, because if you're negative, I can feel that negative vibe, and I don't want to be around it. So I just try to stay positive in all ways and help other people, be on that positive note as well.
I think for me, it took me a while to understand that self-care was not a luxury, but that it was a necessity. I run a business, and so a lot of times that burden of just being everything for everybody and being available to my clients and even my realtors, sometimes it just weighs down on you so much, and you feel like you don't have the right to say no. I don't have the right to turn my phone off. I don't have the right not to reply to this message or this email at that time. So once I realized that I was crashing and that wasn't working for me, I started doing very basic things. I thought self-care was really big, but it's really basic things. I do simple stuff. I listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire sometimes. I be singing, I play with my dog. I just do the very basic things. I talk to myself sometimes. I encourage myself. I speak very frankly to myself about my destiny and my life and the things that God has planned for me and my story. I speak that to me, and I think it's very important. There are a lot of voices in the world. You talk about social media and our friends and our family, but the most important voice in my life is mine. It's what I say to me that matters. So I'm real intentional about saying the right things to myself.
I just want to go back, reflect back on what he just said. And you do have to speak life over the situations that you go through. So that's kind of good. A lot of times, even when you're feeling down and when you're going through different obstacles in your life, you have to speak it into existence. So you just keep speaking positivity over the situations you go through. Yeah.
For me, I do what makes me happy. And I know that's selfish, but I had to learn how to be selfish. I've always been in a position of leadership where, as a hospital administrator, I'm still ultimately responsible for the type of care that's given to the patients. Here for Maxwell, I think we had a catchment of 21,000 patients, not coming through the door every day, but there's some math with that, but that's how many people were assigned there. So my job as medical logistics was I was in charge of all the medical contracts and positioning, ensuring that credentialing went right, ensuring all the medical supplies for the entire base was ordered properly. I ran facility management, I ran facility maintenance, I ran the warehouse, ensuring that pharmaceuticals came in on time, precious metal for dental, and ensuring that the people that were using everything that I bought ensuring that they were at their best and they had everything that they needed in order to do their job. And I was only one piece of the puzzle. And direct supervision, I had no less than 40 people at one time that reported directly to me. So I was always giving myself to someone else. There were days that I didn't go to lunch. There were days that I didn't eat dinner. Things like that, which didn't help at all with what I had going on. The days I had to choose food over sleep, I chose sleep. You know, because I felt like 3 or 4 hours of sleep would be more beneficial than, you know, having food. I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't understand the importance of breakfast, meaning that breakfast was intended to break the fast from the last time you ate, from your dinner. And that's one of the things that I teach too. So those things like that, I was like, you know what, I don't care how bad it looks. I don't care if the building was on fire. Well, I did care if the building was on fire, but you know, I'm going to take time and I'm going to eat. I'm going to take care of myself. I do yoga, I meditate, and you know, a lot of people, and that's the thing too with people, like I said, you have to do what truly makes you happy, not the social media standard, I hate to say it, but not the church standard. You have to do what truly makes you happy, because at the end of the day, it's your body, it's your well-being. And so it's like things that I don't have a good feeling about, negative energy, negative people, things that just aren't positive, I stay clear. I stay away from that. And then you'll actually see what you really need. You know, you can monitor your energy levels. You know, I've been told, you know, when you do yoga, that's not in the Bible, or that's not from a religious perspective. You know, there's different types of yoga. You know, why are you doing that? Again, I'm doing what makes me happy, you know, and I encourage people to, you know, do your own research. Don't just go by what I say, you know. You can trust me. I think I'm pretty convincing, but trust and verify. And if it doesn't work for you, because everything is not for everybody and everything is not for everybody type. So you have to be intentional with yourself, intentional with your happiness.
And you touched on the next thing, and you know, this would be the last question that I want to take. You know, make it an open floor. You know, open the floor for questions from our guests here. But I do want to touch on that a little bit, because you mentioned how you stay away from social media. But how do you not be like? How can you not be affected by, you know, the news that we get on a regular, consistent basis? Like, how, like, what are some of the things that, like, how can you, like, do you give yourself permission to be angry about things, and how do you move forward, you know, once you find out, or once you come to, you know, the negative news and, like, the negative things that we come across? Like, what are some of the things that you do, or what are some of the solutions that you can offer to deal with that type of challenge?
On social media? Like if I am on social media, well, to be honest with you, I read all the negatives from my page, because I don't see anything that's negative that's coming down my timeline. Like if I do see somebody with something negative, and to be honest, I don't even watch the news. I know a lot of people, you know, may say, well, why you don't watch the news? But, you know, it's just so much going on in this world. Like even in my hometown, it's something going on every day. And my solution to that, I pray about the situation and I just leave it alone and just keep going. So that's my solution to every problem that I see, or any negative aspect that I see on social media, or any surroundings or anything that's going on in this world.
The negative things that I see on social media, they don't necessarily make me feel bad, or I really enjoy being privy to what's going on in my community. You know, like I want my fingers on the pulse of the community, you know, because this is a place where God has planted me, where I'm serving right now. So I want to know what's going on in the community, and it doesn't bother me to see what's going on in the community. What social media does, though, sometimes I see social media and I struggle because I see the finished product that people put out, and it looks nothing like my journey and my story that I'm walking out. So sometimes it's challenging because it can make you upset, it can make you pivot and try to do something different in your business or your life, period, because you're like, man, they ain't doing that, and they seem so happy, or they seem like they're really excited about what they're doing, and it just, so that's where my struggle comes in at. But even with that, I just have to kind of step away and remind myself, like, this is my journey, this is my book, this is my movie, and it's totally different than anybody that has ever lived. So I can't compare myself to that, you know?
For me, I like social media. I like Instagram more so than Facebook. I initially used social media to network and stay in contact with family, having been military. And I think just in general, social media works when it's used properly. You know, if you want to use it for networking, if you want to use it for business, if you want to use it for, you know, personal. I just think that you have to be intentional in what you put out, because what you put out is what's going to come back to you. So I don't really have like the negative stuff. I don't like fighting. I don't like anything that's cruel to children and, you know, animals and things like that. Anything that's not really helpful for my personal growth, I have to get rid of it. And I have to delete people in real life. You know, and I think that's one thing that we have a problem with, is deleting people in real life. You know, and I'm not so quick to call someone a friend. You have to know the difference between a friend and an associate, and you have to group those people together. And I think that saves a lot of trouble in the long run. You know, it's okay to say, this person is, you know, a part of my church group. This is the person that I work with. This is the person that, the caregiver for my children. This is family. And I think once you start doing that, that is a good way to stay clear of any potential drama, because again, you're going to attract what you put out. And so I'll always make sure that I'm intentional. And another thing too with social media, a lot of things that we talk about, when to have that private page and when to have that personal page. You know, people will just latch onto you just for social media, just to see and put a piece, you know, of puzzle, put a piece of a puzzle that they've already, you know, pretty much finished in their head. And then when it doesn't go the way that they want, or that picture doesn't look the way that they want, then they start coming after you. Then they start coming after the things that you're really putting your good energy towards. But again, it's all about being intentional, and it's all about the energy that you put out there. You're guaranteed to get the energy, that same energy level back. Will there be haters? Of course. But again, if you're not, you know, part of my growth, if you're not part of my growth track, I can't get with you on no aspect, in person, social media, work, any of that, you know, because I can't be my best self worried about what you're going to do next, or how you're going to perceive me when I do this, or I put this out there on social media and it's changed. So always do like smart posting and look for like-minded people that do. And there's some great acronyms out there, you know, for SMART, you know, making sure that it's safe, you know, making sure that it's really going to be, you know, helpful and impactful, you know, to other people, making sure that it's timely, different things like that, you know.
Because you all give back to the community, like each and every one of you have your own way of reaching the next generation, or so that's kind of where I was touching on when I was asking. I wanted to see like if you were affected by, let's say, the police shootings that go on, or like things like that. Does that inspire some of the work that you are doing as it relates to how you're giving back to, like you give back to women? You love speaking to, you know, youth all the time. I know you have your when you have your events for the fitness studio, you touch, you know, you want to minister to the younger kids. So does that play a role in the positive things you're doing in the community, or how do you I don't know. So what does inspire that? Let me ask that.
Yeah, mass incarceration of black men is something that, of course, it affected my life, so it's something that I see on social media and I see in the media, and it definitely affects the way that I target my giving back to the community. For Christmas, I was able to find a young man, his father's on death row, and we were able to give him a Christmas, you know, redo his room and stuff for Christmas. So part of KR Cares or Kelly Realty Cares is definitely, it comes from the problem that I see, you know, in the community. And, you know, frankly, children who have parents who are incarcerated, it's a real passion of mine. So I definitely see the negativity and try to, you know, go about it, handling it like that.
And do you believe that's where we all should go from there, like whenever we do come across that, or how do we deal with it? How do we approach it? Do we just, you know?
I think that anything that you're doing to give back, it has to be something that's passion. Like it has to really, really spawn from passion. Mine comes from passion. It comes from pain. It comes from my suffering. It comes from looking in these kids' eyes. Like, you don't have to tell me how you feel. I know how you feel. You know, and even if you can't articulate it, so I'm willing to do anything for them because it's bigger than the money for me, and it's bigger than, you know, even the issue. I understand your pain, so I think that, you know, it has to come from that.
For me, I guess I can say my passion, the thing that I'm most passionate about are children, because I have children, and women, because I am a woman. For me, when we have like nationwide issues or when we have things that affect the country, I want to make sure that the children understand what the real problem is. You know, there'll be memes, there'll be celebrity bandwagons and things like that. And with my children, being the ages that they are, I'll hear them say something, or they'll say because a rapper such and such said this, or their perception of what they see and the timing that they see it. I want to make sure that they're educated, you know, so I feel it's my duty to go to the other children and other adults too. So yeah, it's out there. I watch the news. I'm encouraging them to watch the news, but it just irks me when someone is unable to speak intelligently about a serious issue. You know, we can say all day that we don't like, you know, our current president. You know, we can say all these different things, but I want them to understand the importance of the issue that he may be overlooking, or the issue that he is sweeping under the table, because I want them to be productive members of society and the community. So when these things do come up in school, or when I have to send more school supplies, they can understand from that perspective and be able to relate to that. I can't expect my 8-year-old to understand what a budget cut is, you know, for the school district. You know, I can't expect my 14-year-old to understand those things, but I can help them understand what they can do and how it really impacts them and how it impacts us, and how what they say and how they perceive it is really impactful to their peers, you know. And I think that's how I go about determining what I want to focus on when it comes to helping the community and helping, you know, the way that I give back. I think the greatest thing, like you said, it's not really the money for me, it's knowledge. And that's where the whole health, wealth, and consciousness comes in for me. You know, we have to be healthy all over, wealthy. I would rather sometimes have, you know, physical wealth as opposed to that actual, you know, coins in the bank. I like my coins, but at the same time, sometimes we have learned, you know, throughout our adulthood that money does not take care of everything, you know. So helping them understand that, and just being aware of what's going on. I spoke to a group of children earlier this week. They were all under DHR custody, and I asked them the same questions. How do you define health? How do you define wealth? You know, what does it mean to be conscious? You know, and just helping them to actually understand how important those things were, and how important it is to not turn off the TV. But the most important question that I felt I asked them was, who was the mayor of Montgomery? The age group was 13 through 18, and no one knew. No one knew. The mentors in that classroom, no one knew. I'm like, okay, y'all don't get a pass. You know, you guys are 24, 25, 30 years old. How do you not know? What school district do you live in? They didn't know. you know. So if they don't know, I know the parents don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I can assume. So when we talk about our failing schools and things like that, you know, and then comes bullying and those bigger issues, you know, kids are being bullied because they go to a failing school, and what's going on is really not their issue. You know, they're not, you know, necessarily a dummy because there are things that are going on, but we just have to really, really do our research. Trust but verify has always been a big thing for me. It's okay to hear these things, but go do the research yourself. You know, be able to speak intelligent about these issues.
And I want to ask this. Let me just ask. If someone has a child or someone themselves, they want to get involved in anything to be active in the community or even be a part of something that you're doing, Jeremy. I know that you do a lot of first-time homeowner workshops. So, like, can you share anything that maybe you're a part of or that you lead, that if someone here wants to connect with you or if someone here wants to put their child into something, can you share an opportunity that they can possibly get involved in?
Social media. We need assistance with running the social media. There are, you know, you got LinkedIn. In this world, in this day and age, social media is more powerful than TV when it comes to marketing. So you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got Snapchat, you've got Twitter, you've got LinkedIn, and you've got a ton of different platforms that you got to run, and it's a lot to do. So if I would love to have an intern in this generation from this day and age that understands the importance of social media and understands how to do it and wants to learn how to, you know, help a business, you know, go to the next level using social media. Yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah.
Any other opportunities that you all offer that maybe you can invite someone here to you?
I'm always looking for assistance with gardening. My goal is to ensure that most of the schools, especially in the parts of town that don't get a lot of attention, I want to do community gardens. We have one at Bethany Christian Academy. We didn't get to do it this summer due to some, or this spring due to some health issues, but even if the school doesn't have one, I would like to help, you know, the children. If you have a child in school, help them get a community garden started. One of the great things that I like to do is we do a garden and sell the produce for, I don't know, the art department or things that they want to do, a pizza party, different things like that. So if anybody wants to start a garden, or I think this fall I'm going to be doing a lot of projects that aren't specific to a school, but like care gardens where cancer patients can come and get some produce and different things like that. You know, even with the church too. And of course, it's always like, you know, the Boys and Girls Club. There's some things going on at the Y. I mean, and honestly, just I think this school year there should be some more opportunities coming, because hopefully there's going to be some change where kids are going to be required to do some type of community service to get like scholarships and things like that. So I'm not totally relying on that. I'm going to rely on parents and, you know, the students themselves to kind of help with that and kind of make that a citywide thing and give them opportunities, take opportunities to them as opposed to requiring them to, you know, find something.
And I have been working with a friend of mine. She's trying to get her youth mentoring program off the ground. It's called Stepping Into Sisterhood for young ladies from 10 to 18, you know, teaching them a lot of different skills and crafts and just helping them find out who they are, etiquette, I mean, different skills and crafts. We're going to try to bring in some more people to come in, and I will, of course, be speaking about different subjects dealing with relationships, a lot of different other, finding their purpose, finding their inner strength, and I think that would be something good for the young ladies, because sometimes maybe I'm not just going to say the young ladies as well, but also young men. Maybe they can't get what they can at home from their parents, because sometimes kids go outside. They don't like to talk to their parents. they would rather talk to somebody else. And I have two daughters. I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. So, you know, and I try to teach them the right way. So I think this here will be good for them, and I can enroll them in that as well.
Now, I want to open the floor, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to, or any comments or anything you want to add. Maybe you know of other opportunities that we all can be a part of, or any groups or any organizations. So feel free to, you have the floor, feel free to share comments or even ask any questions.
This is for the gentleman. I would like for you to expound more on when you said men are taught to be tough, not necessarily truthful.
What I mean by that is, men, right? You see a little boy crying, you're like, pull it together. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be okay. Stop crying. You see a little girl crying, they say, oh, what's wrong, baby? Come here. So even from you, you know, as a child, you're taught to suck it up. You're taught to pretend that pain does not exist. You're taught not to be truthful about your emotions, about your pain, about your suffering, about the things that are going on in your mind. You're taught to just, you know, even as a man, they teach you sometimes to be silent. Just, you know, be the strong, silent type. And that's not truthful. That's not the narrative for many of the men and many of the black men and the black youth that I deal with in the community. That's not the narrative. That's not the truth. And so it makes it difficult because you tell the kids to put on this guise, this persona, this mask, and then we punish them when they can't take it on and break from behind the mask. So I think it's very important that, you know, that we're taught how to deal with our emotions. Go to counseling if you need to, and you know, and be open and honest and truthful about what you feel and what's going on in your mind.
I just want to comment on the
all through your job. I think that y'all have done an amazing job being on the panel for BlackTie magazine. Y'all touch on things that, you know, even though I'm an author, I've learned just sitting here. I've learned so much from you, and it's always good when you learn from someone else. You can be taught things that you never thought that you could be taught from other people give their opinion about things that they've experienced in their lives. I sat here and thought about things when you said you have to let the negative people go, and that was one of my biggest things. Like even working, being on my job for 13 years I've been on. I used to think that I had friends, but they really wasn't. They were associates. I didn't know how to put, distinguish between the two. But just listen to you speak. Let me realize how I let so many people out of my life. Sometimes even it could be your own family members. That's just like when my grandmother passed away in 2015. A month before she died, raised from the time I was a baby. She told me, she said, it's going to be some of your own family members that's not going to be happy for you. Don't worry about that. What I want you to do is what you need to do to get to the next level. Leave them behind. Don't worry about what anyone tell you. Anything that you go to do, don't let everybody know your business, because everybody's not happy. Everybody's not on your side. Don't want to see you move to the next level. And that's one thing I had to take to heed when she used to tell me, because sometimes we go to say things thinking that we have friends that's behind us when they really not on our side. Not just friends, like I said, family members. They're not happy for you either. And I had to learn the hard way to just let go of people who was not team yes to Patterson. And I just want to tell y'all have done a phenomenal job up there on that panel. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or, okay, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Piggybacking off what you said, I did a phenomenal job with your responses, questions, and going back to the community. I do have a youth organization that represents girls and girls, and we also have a auxiliary program. We also have an auxiliary program men and men. So I would like to most definitely
young lady had to find herself. First you had to bring God. Because I told her, God, pray. And someone in your life, getting there, you will know that it was God and God was carrying you in that footstep that I'm in prayer. But you gotta read and open your Bible. Like you said, for yourself. Every time you read that, you're gonna get a better understanding. You read from passion. Now this young lady, I think I met her 15 years ago. When I moved out here, she was my daughter's Girl Scout. So she saw the Girl Scout, and there was a good organization, but when you can take it to your own level, for your own culture, then you know they're gonna progress, because I saw a lot of things that I like that. But I realized that every nation living in every country, cities are the same. I'm from New York, that's capital world. So it was a culture shock for me. But when I saw her, anyway. But my parents are godparents. And my father's 90. So each and every one of them, I know all have a storytelling testimony, knowing that you are successful. You might even be successful because what you take from this how she didn't give up on life. God brought her to the life. We teach man just a little, but you give it to God and God will give it because He made us all in His image. So we all successful. We have herb, whatever. Just you being here, you are a business person. You can take what you just learned here. Those who are like great. Amen. And our daughter's
And there was a question that someone submitted. They asked, what is the meaning of empowerment? So does anyone want to answer that? What is the meaning of empowerment?
I want to touch on that. Even with my women's empowerment group, when you empower someone, just like I said, it means that, just say that if a person is feeling a certain type of way, like even in my group, I have people reaching out to me all the time saying, oh, where this was just right on time, or where I needed that. We as women, I feel that if we should be lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down, because right now I see so much of that on social media where different women are bashing each other on a daily basis. And whether it's with your hair or what kind of clothes you're wearing or what you look like or what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you got, it's not even all about that. So we as women should be lifting each other up. I don't care if it's just one word to say to a person, a kind word to say to somebody, to uplift them in a very special way and to just keep, and that's my mission. My mission is to empower, uplift, inspire, and encourage all, not just women, on a daily basis, because there are men as well who needs empowerment, who needs encouragement, and they're not getting it as well. And it's all about just lifting each other up and just keeping it as a steady flow to see, because me personally, it's not even about me. I want to see other people rise to the top, because I have a book that says true success comes from God, and when we continue we can empower one another. Even with my good sister here, we have an empowerment accountability together where we hold each other accountable for certain things and we empower each other. I don't know, they answered your question. What is empowerment?
Empowerment reminds me of the word encouragement, and to encourage someone technically means to put courage in them. So when I think of empowerment, I think of putting power inside of somebody. Anytime I'm at a convention, anytime I'm dealing with anybody that is my job and my mission to do that, I'm imagining that I'm going to put power inside of you in some type of way. Maybe my story will come back up to you when you need to be resilient in a moment or something like that, or maybe something that I've said or you said or you said. I think that's what empowerment is putting power in someone.
I have a question to you. What's your name again?
Jeremy Kelly.
Jeremy, when you have real estate business, yes. Now you did mention the first time home buyer, and I was a part of something out of state, whereas program where home buyer, the government provides funds, you purchase that real estate into that also grant.
I didn't know anything about that grant. You just put me on game, but we are. But we do work with some of the first-time home buyer programs. They got a program out there right now. It's the best program in the market. I just bought a house through this program. You can buy a house $100 down. $100 down. HUDHomestore.com. I just closed mine. I can't lie. HUDHomestore.com. And so that's one of the first-time home buyer programs out there. But we're familiar with it. We love first-time home buyers. Yeah.
I only bring that to the attention of my father when I moved down here. Heard on the radio, and Alabama State had it, where the first-time home buyer, they go to class or whatever, and they would provide $5,000 down payment, and have 1%, whatever, and then that's what, and then grew. I don't know this, that program, but as a boss, from that program, years ago, that I don't know if they
There was a question that was submitted. Someone asked, what role should non-African American people play in Black empowerment? What role should non-African American people play in Black empowerment?
Well,
the other nationalities.
Well, I guess I want to say, first of all, before I think we can honestly say what role anyone doesn't have in our community or in our empowerment, we have to get on track first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to solidify our own empowerment, our own Black empowerment, because truthfully, we kind of need a little bit of everybody. You know what I mean? I kind of got to go to the hair store. You know, I kind of got to go to the bank. I kind of got to go to the grocery store. You know, those type things. So before we can exclude anybody, we need to ensure that we have what we need. You know what I mean? Yes. I think Black Panther was a great movie. Everybody was moving to Wakanda. A lot of people still there. But, you know, we have to realize that Wakanda was not a real place. So we got all the tools, you know, we got everything that was put out there in that movie, the undertones, the things that were blatant, but we didn't take anything and bring it back in the community. And I can't say everybody, speaking for everybody, but, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but I have yet to see a lot of things come out from the movie into my personal community. You know, Wakanda was not a real place, you know. So how do we take those things and how do we put those things in our community? Who's going to be the first one to start that? Who's going to start that real Montgomery Wakanda movement? Or is it happening? I don't know. And I guess that's a question.
I think that other nationalities can help Black empowerment by, number one, being truthful and being real about the systems that are in place that are set up and that have been constructed to oppress Black people. I think, number one, to be truthful about that. I watched a video the other night and it was fascinating. There was a white kid in a room full of white kids, probably, he couldn't have been no more than 17, it looked like a room full of high school kids, number of white kids in the room. And he is articulating and defending how, essentially he's talking about how, you know, the rebellion of the Confederacy was wrong and how holding on to the flag is not right. And he was doing battle in his own culture on behalf of Black people. If I had stepped in that room, I could have talked about, look, in the emancipation of, they would have tuned me out. They wouldn't hear nothing I said, because it's hard to receive the truth from me when you've already got this wall up. But someone of your own community might be able to get you to open up a little bit more. So I think if they're truthful and they're willing to do battle in their own community about the injustice that exists in our society, that's helpful. That's what we need.
What he said.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that, and saying that first we have to make sure that we're not buying into the stereotypes that, you know, we have to make sure that we have our mindsets and our behaviors, you know, up, and even just how we're putting ourselves out to the world. And then also to, if we saw more non-African American people be honest, like you said, about what's going on and about the role they can play if white privilege, using their white privilege, if that's a thing, if we want to say that's a thing, using that to open doors or help open doors for people of color, minorities. So that's what I would say. But someone else asked a question for you, Jeremy. They asked if you could, well, really all of you, can you expand on what prompted you to start your business? But this was to you, like what prompted you to start your business and not play it safe and work for Airnob?
Oh yeah. So I grew up in a house. My dad, for as long as I can remember, had his own business, and so I never accepted any reality outside of me being a business owner. He was very intentional about explaining to me that I could not pass my job on to my kids, but that I could pass my business, I could pass my assets, my wealth, the houses and things that we can accumulate, that I could give that to my children. So it was always my plan, even before I got to Aeronov, to start my own business. They knew that as soon as I came in the door. I stayed there for 3 years because I wanted to learn and I wanted to grow, but it was always my ambition to do that from day one. That's what I wanted to do.
Do you want to answer, Aretha? And the next question will be for you.
For me, it was my health. Got really into the gardening, and then I had excess. I had excess herbs. I had too much. My garden was producing more than we could use, and so I was doing my research and talking to some of my friends from other countries, and ended up getting a great provider who was from Colombia, South America. And she said, you can use that for that, or you can use that for that. And so, again, having abundance of what I was producing, and then I got to the point to where I couldn't give it away, and then people were actually coming and it's like, well, I'll buy it, I'll buy it, or if you can sell it to me, or do you mind selling it to me? And that just kind of became the thing.
Because you have your own Bath and Body Works type of line. I love your soaps. I'm just a fan of the aloe vera soap. That is like my absolute favorite. But that she hand makes her soaps and bath salts and so get with her on that.
I had some samples, but I had an unfortunate accident on my way here, but I'll make it up to your best.
And the next question was for you, Lucretia. Someone asked, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to write their first book?
Ooh. Well, I'm gonna say this because everybody has a story to tell. And I don't care if I had to learn how to share my faith with other people. And what I would actually tell you, if you want to start your first business, I'm thinking about business, to write your first book, is to really, what I started to do, every thought that came through my mind, I just started writing. I didn't go back, I didn't try to, correct the mistakes, I just kept writing. And whatever thought comes to your head, put it on paper, because you just never know. When you go back and read it, you're going to be like, oh, wow. Because I'm going to tell you, with these 8 books that I have, it flowed. And with the help of God, with Him inspiring me to write, because I know that He didn't just allow me to write these inspirational guides for no apparent reason. So we can talk about that later. Book me for a consultation, because I'm getting ready to create my own self-publishing company. It's going to be called Consult God First Publication. So hopefully I will have that up and running before the end of the year. So
You heard it. And the last question was to anyone, if anyone wants to take this. So what strategy do you use to reach your target audience in a city like Montgomery?
What was the last part?
In a city like Montgomery. So how do you reach your target audience? What strategy do you use?
For me, I just get out there. I get out there, I find the need that I'm looking for, or, I find a need that suits what I'm most comfortable with. I know my strong suit is gardening, I know my strong suit is wellness, I know my strong suit, is children, so I look for those type things. From a business perspective, again, looking for that need, finding just those groups that, you know, have networking events. You never know who will be there. You never know who, you know, has a service or a product that you may need, or they may need you, and you can come together like that. So I guess I'm kind of like my own self-marketer. Because I have so much going on, I have not been able to just sit down and be reachable totally through social media for business. Totally, like I'm working on a blog now, but it's more of a lifestyle type. It's a lifestyle type blog that I'm working on.
One of the ways that I learned how to reach my target audience was realizing who my target audience, who my audience was and who my audience was not. I'm gonna be really, really frank with you guys. The only reason I signed with Aronoff when I got into real estate is because I thought that under that name and under that banner, I would be able to get white business. I did, but that was not true. What ended up happening was my community were the people that would shop with me, even though I was there. And, you know, in the white community, it was like, that's good you're there and all, but we're gonna shop with our kind, you know. So once I realized that and I peeped the game and I understood that, then I just started to try to just be true to who I am, because I know who my audience is. So I'm true to who I am. I'm not gonna be like anybody else. I'm not gonna pattern myself like anybody in the market. I'm gonna be exactly who I am, and that draws my audience.
Well, also, I didn't mention earlier, but I am a Christian blogger as well. And again, I had to really understand who my target audience was, because at first I didn't know. I had to also understand that everything that I do, even my books, they're not for everybody. Even though I want them to be for everybody, even though I want everybody to pick it up and read it, because I know nowadays everybody don't read. But reading is fundamental, and we can get back to reading. I'm telling you, I mean, sometimes I have to pick my material back up and read it myself to say, oh, okay, did I really do this? You know, this is what I really actually went through. So just being able to just distinguish who my information is for, and I know it's going to get into the hands of the right people. And, you know, even with my Christian blogging, attending network events as well, I try to get in there, speaking at different events. And just to reflect back on the questions that you were saying as far as having a passion for something, I also speak at the women's shelter. And the reason why I felt that there was a need there at the women's shelter, because every day, you know, or even at the men's shelter where you see people who are homeless, people, you know, who have given up hope, and I had somebody to ask me, you know, why would you want to speak there? And I said, well, you have women and men who may feel like this is their final destination. Like this is where they're supposed to be for the rest of their lives. But you know, I go in to give them hope, to, you know, encourage and empower them to get to the next level, to let them know that this is not your final destination, that you can rise up above this. And what I had to learn as well is that God allows us, He puts us in a space for a reason. And sometimes we have to be content in that place where we're at, so that we can get to the next level in our lives, so that we can be able to help somebody else get out of that situation.
I have a comment real quick. I want to follow up on something that Jeremy said. What he experienced, what I've come to understand as a business owner, what he experienced with Aaron is that when he encountered the other clients from other races, they said, no, you just want to do business with their own. And that's natural. That's something natural that others do. And in the black community, we tend to look at that as being racist. So we'll spend our money anywhere, but other people intentionally, the Koreans have their stores in Montgomery, other races have their stores, they tend to want to pay for their own. It's just, that's actually natural. So we don't understand it's unnatural to want to try to love everybody and everything to everybody else and not take care of our own first. So what we do is we try to just spend our money anywhere and not be intentional about it and say, wow, man, it's really going down. Other people, if they were in our position, they would say, no, I'm not taking my money over there, I'm spending it over here. It's just natural. So I think if we teach our children that it's not racist to be intentional about where you spend your money and wanting to spend it with someone who looks like yourself. Even if one doesn't work out, you can try another. You know, there's this thing that floats around the black community. Oh, you know, black businessman, you know, we have a bad experience with one or two. It's like, oh, well, you know, black businessmen, they're just terrible. And we have a bad experience with Walmart or something like that. We comment and one on our but you know, we might stay away from a week or 2 or 3 or 4. But we going right back and everything's all good. But that black business obviously you can't trust them, man. Like, I gave them $20, he can't get my money back in. You know, so we have to, again, I think you just said something. I didn't expect you to say that. I was thinking that, but I didn't expect you to say that. That is really powerful.
You're absolutely right, and it's not only natural in other communities. I think what we got to teach in our community is that it's not evil. It's not evil for me to want to see my people do well. That's not evil, and I love what you said.
Yeah, like to be pro-black does not automatically mean anti-white.
And two things. Number one, to piggyback on this conversation, we have to get away from competition as well. It's okay to accept the fact that she sells Mary Kay, and she sells Mary Kay, and she sells Mary Kay. She may have a different audience or a different target audience, or if she's not available for an event, then, you know, hey, let me call her to see if she would like this opportunity. We have to stop being competitive as well. That's one thing. Back to the other question is how did I reach my target audience? When we first opened the fitness studio, I was lost. But Jasmine she was my everything. She helped me with research. She helped me with, you know, tracking, marketing tools, and, you know, it helped. I mean, she did everything for me. I mean, she could tell you I was like, oh, I'm glad you said that. Like, you know what, Jasmine, I trust you. I don't know. Saying that to say, a good way to reach your target audience is that you have to invest in your business as well. You have to realize you can't do everything. And it's okay to reach out, you know, to someone for help and say, hey, these are my deficiencies. This is what I need help with. And again, getting away from the competition, getting away from the shame, and say, hey, look, Jasmine, I don't know anything about this. I just have a passion to do this. Or for me, it was, I don't have time, you know, because I'm doing so many other things. So, you know, Jasmine was great, you know, for us, you know, and we still use some of the tools pretty much most of the tools that she gave us. And she would always ask, okay, who is it that you're trying to reach? You know, how do you keep up, you know, with the people that you're trying to reach? So always, you know, invest in your business. If you know, hey, I got the product, I know how to produce it, I know how to do that, I just don't know how to get it out to people. Or, you know, I'm afraid that people won't buy it because it's me. And we all go through that. A lot of people support you for the simple fact that it's you. You know, you were doing the things that they were doing. I mean, we were just, you know, struggling together. Now you decided to separate yourself. And then that goes back and play in your mind, well, I still want that support, which will probably be a one-time support, you know, and so that goes further into not really relying on the people that know you, you know, not really relying on just taking everything at face value. You have to invest, and you have to understand that there are other tools out there. And again, Jasmine is great for that. And she can tell you, I mean, Jasmine, how many times was it like, you know what, Jasmine, I don't know, or, oh my God, thank you so much, you're my lifesaver. So get at Jasmine.
Well, thank you. Yeah, because Aretha, I came on and helped her with some of the like content marketing.
I was a mess. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And I really was, you know, trying to keep up, you know, with memory issues and, you know, important things and just getting through the day. She was very, very empathetic to my illnesses and very, very supportive of my passion to do what it was that we wanted to do. So, sell yourself, Jasmine.
But no, yeah, so what I do as a content marketing strategist, a lot of people come to me with their ideas. They're stuck on, like maybe they're trying to put together their website, or maybe they're trying to put together, like maybe they just don't know how they should be going about communicating with their customers or attracting them or selling to them. So I just helped her on that, and that's what I do. Just on the content marketing side, just come in and just work with people one-on-one to really put a strategy in place behind the business, because you can be good at what you do, you can know your stuff when it comes to your area, but yeah, if you are stuck in the area, don't stay stuck. Like, reach out to someone who can help you. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a, someone who can help with virtual assistants, or someone who can help with marketing or writing or whatever you need. Like, don't stay stuck. Just reach out to someone to help you go to the next level. But on that note, I know it's getting late, so let's go ahead and let's cut the cake and network. And if you have anything you want to pull aside to them while we're networking and eating cake, like, feel free to just pull them aside to dive deeper with them personally. But let's just conclude. I appreciate you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate your attention and your time, and I do want to respect your time. So let's have fun, let's get some music going, and let's eat cake and network. And thank you all. Thank you for joining us on the panel and sharing, just pouring out your stories and sharing your advice and your tips and inspiration. So thank you all for coming. I hope you have a wonderful night.